Chapter 7. In spite of marital difficulties. We don't agree about anything anymore except the fact that we want a divorce. Well, I can earn better living than he can. My wife is a mess. I can't recognize in her the girl I married. Oh, he's so crude. She doesn't understand me. All I want is peace. If words were permanently recorded in a place in which they were spoken, the walls of the study of any minister today would reverberate unceasingly with expressions such as these. Ministers the world over are attempting to meet their challenge in one way or another. Just a minute, please, I say to the one before me at the moment. Not so fast. Let's try to get to the bottom of your trouble. You think now that divorce is the end. Let's look at it and think beyond it. Divorce is just another name for failure. It is a disastrous and disruptive step. When you two stood at the altar, you took each other for better or worse until death parted you. You said, "I do." Now you're saying, "I don't." Why this reversal of your decision? Did you go into your marriage with reservations? Was it consciously tentative? Were you leaving a loophole? And now are you going to violate the most sacred vows that any man and woman can take? Have you considered divorce in all its many ramifications? Do you know what broken homes are like? Do you know what divorce can do to your life as well as to the lives of your children? But there is no other way, says the grieving or indignant or self-righteous individual. Then face the facts, I say. Your divorce will keep pulling you back to face our failure. It will not only put a temporary stigma on you and on your home and children, but it will influence your whole life adversely. Marriage is a union of two persons. In it, there is no room for the development of one individual at the expense of another. What are the factors that have brought your marriage to this sorry pass? I asked the wife who came before me. To make her come alive to you, shall we give her a name? Helen, or Phyllis, or Catherine. Let it be Helen in this instance. Of course, the cases discussed are so typical that you could name the characters yourself. Some few of you may find yourselves in the case histories given. How long have you lived with your husband? Shall he be called Jerry? 6 years. Do you have any children? Yes, a little boy. Have you considered him in this step? How are you going to divide him between you? You can't cut him in half, you know, and a boy needs a father just as much as he does a mother. I'm really thinking most about him. He'd be better off without his father. Do you go to church? No. Does your husband go to church? No. Why not? Because he is a Roman Catholic and I'm a Presbyterian, or because we are tired on Sunday, or because there are so many other things to do. Do you have family prayers? Do you say grace at your meals? Is there any spiritual atmosphere in your home? No. Well, what are the other factors that have brought you to this momentous decision? My husband drinks too much. He will not face his responsibilities. Well, what do you mean by that? He is selfish, indifferent, and irresponsible. He thinks only of his own pleasure. I have told him time and time again that I do not like drinking in our home, but he insists on having cocktail parties every weekend. Do you drink? No, not unless I have to. When we were first married, I toured the taverns with him. Now I find that he is dating a young woman who works in his office. I know that he sometimes stays out with her 2 and 3 in the morning. How do you know this? I've had him shadowed. Did you ever remonstrate him with this? Yes. What did he say? That I was old-fashioned. Then you accuse him of disloyalty. I certainly do. What else do you find wrong with him? He gives so little time to his family. He spends his evening on work that he brings home from the office and spends weekends fishing, golfing, or skiing. What does he do on Sunday? He reads the paper, eats, and sleeps. Does he ever take you out for recreation? Seldom, since our son was born. And what other factors influenced you in your decision? My husband is careless and untidy. He never hangs up his clothes, never puts a top on the shaving soap. He drops cigarette ashes on the carpet and furniture and leaves his golf clubs on the floor. Have you ever prayed for your husband? I certainly have, without any results. I cannot take this mental cruelty any longer. Have you followed this case closely? And put yourself in my place and write down on a paper just exactly what you would say to this young wife in an effort to get her to change her mind about divorce. She has her suitcase packed for Reno, and you will have to clinch your argument on the spot if you were to stop her. Have you finished? Then let us go to the case of a young husband, Jim, and let us hear his story. I blew up yesterday, and it looks as though Margaret and I will have to go our separate ways. Why? Because I've taken all that one man can be expected to take. I have tried to straighten my wife out, but it's no use. She doesn't seem to care about me or her home. Is she interested in some other man? No, not that I know of. Then what is wrong with her? She is careless and shiftless. All she wants to do is play canasta and bridge with her college friends. She lies in bed all morning and plays cards all afternoon. I get my own breakfast. The house is always dirty. The beds are seldom made. Sink is usually filled with dirty dishes. My dinners are prepared in a hurry and come mostly from cans. I may be a crank on the subject, but it is my contention that a wife owes something to her husband. If Margaret were ill or incapacitated in any way, there might be some excuse for her lying in bed until noon. But she is healthy, strong, indifferent, and lazy. Have you ever discussed the faults with her? Yes, I have, and the discussion always leads to a family row. Her folks had plenty of money when she was growing up, and she never had to do anything around the house. What else do you find wrong with her? Her temper and inquisitiveness. She flies off the handle without any provocation, and always has to know everything about my affairs. She opens all my mail and wants to make all the important decisions in her home. She refuses to entertain my friends because she does not like them. Then you feel that there is no basis for the future of your marriage. I certainly do. I am so fed up with the whole thing that I cannot take it anymore. All right, students, get out your pencil again and see if you can work out a solution to this problem. What would you say in this young husband to save their marriage? What are the factors involved? What therapy would you apply? We could recite many other case histories, but these two are typical that you will help analyze this special area of difficulty. Now put what you have written away until you reach the end of the chapter. It is a sad commentary on our educational system that so little thought and time has been given to the preparation of young people for marriage, which, after all, is one of the most important institutions in this world. We train our young people for practically everything in life except marriage. When young persons are taught how to make happy and successful adjustments in marriage, the divorce rate will go down. There are some psychiatrists who contend that sexual maladjustment is the most frequent cause of divorce, but statistics do not support such a theory. The real problem is not physical incompatibility, but psychic incompatibility. The problem is one of personal relationship and mutual understanding. The things that vitiate marriage vitiate life. Rabbi Brickner said, "Success in marriage is much more than finding the right person. It is a matter of being the right person. In fact, it is a matter of two persons making themselves right for each other." It is not the institution of marriage that is under an oxygen tent today. It is the partners in marriage. They rush to the altar with no preparation and no understanding of each other. Before marriage, they are confident their great love will solve all their problems. When the honeymoon is over and the glamour has worn off, they begin to wonder if they have made a mistake. Everything was glorious during the courtship, but now they find it is all not what it seemed to be. There are peculiarities to be considered, disagreements to be met, adjustments to be made, temperaments to be harmonized, differences to be healed, loyalties to be strengthened, and shocks to be cushioned, and foundations to be built. The husband lives in a world of action, business, and conquest. The wife lives in a world of emotion, love, devotion, and eternity. The husband tends to be materialistic and objective. The wife is intuitive and subjective. Before marriage, they are bound together in an indissoluble unity. Now there is diversity. Instead of one world, they now face two worlds. If their love is to endure, it must be based on something higher than themselves. Something bigger than either one must be central. Happiness does not come with marriage. It has to be cultivated and earned through continual adjustment, through development of mutual understanding, and through compromise. Count Kaiserlin says, "Marriage is not by nature a condition of happiness. Since marriage is made up of two imperfect individuals, he believes that necessarily it involves conflict or tension or adjustment between two lives which are seeking to be one. This implies that married couples will find occasion for argument, conflict, disagreement, and dispute. Indeed, married life would be rather dull and colorless without them. The important thing is not that there are issues, but the issue be adjusted quickly and leave no scars. They should never be allowed to accumulate and gather resentment. Agitations, irritations, and jealousies that are allowed to smolder make psychological dynamite, and dynamite has a way of blowing up at the wrong time. Procrastination in this case is dangerous. The battle and argument may be necessary, but it should be settled before bedtime. It is a good rule to dispose of differences on the spot. The great lubricants in marital difficulties are forgiveness, tolerance, sympathy, and love. It is a tragic thing for a husband to transfer his affection from wife to another woman, or for a wife to transfer her allegiance to another man than her husband, yet it happens every day. The wife gives the best years of her life to her husband, gives love, devotion, honest service, and then finds to her consternation that he is giving to another love that rightly belongs to her. What should a wife do in a situation of this kind? Well, the first thing she must do is to set her husband free. That is, she must give him his freedom in her thought. Does she do it? Very seldom. She hangs on to him for dear life. What is hers, and she is not going to share it. She fights and hangs on. The more she fights, the more determined he is to be free. An emotional tug-of-war develops with wife on the losing end. But if she had set her husband free in God, if she had taken him back to the fountain of all love within her own soul and said, "Lord, let this my love be purified, and lifted up and made one with thy love," the threatened marriage would have emerged unharmed. Whenever the problem came to mind of the wife, she should think of her husband as a soul that is searching for itself. She should see him as a strong, noble, pure, steadfast, and true. She should realize that the affinity between them can never be sullied or weakened by an outside force. The grieving or mistreated husband, in turn, must follow the pattern of release in order to hold his wife. Dr. Norman Peale tells of a woman who told him that she was getting very suspicious of her husband. She said she had every reason to believe that her husband was interested in another woman. At first, he said, I did not take much stock in her assertions, but she finally proved to me what she said was so. I assured her that she could get him back because she had had him first. Nobody can take him away from you, I said, unless you let him go. You are his first love. He has an affinity for you that he does not have for anyone else. You are his wife. Also, you have legality and decency on your side. The other woman has nothing on her side except a passing glamour, and you can surpass that glamour and get him back. Well, how can I do it, she asked. I did not know at the time, or I would have quoted Marlene Dietrich. Someone asked her to become a glamorous person. The secret to glamour, she said, is plenty of soap and water and an untroubled mind. At any rate, I told this woman what I thought she might do, although my suggestion had nothing about cosmetics or soap and water in it. I threw that in for what it was worth. One day she called me. My husband has an engagement to take this woman out to dinner tonight. We are defeated. It is all over. I can't fight any longer. I will tell you what to do. Find out where they are going for dinner and go there yourself. Walk right up to their table. Oh, I couldn't create a scene, she protested. I don't mean that you're going there physically, I explained. Send your mind there. And I told her about the telepathic powers of the human mind, how by faith she could send her mind out into space. Visualize him at the dinner table, surround him with loving thoughts, with faith thoughts. Think about him as a fine person he really is. Affirm that he will not continue on his present course. All evening pray and send out faith and loving thoughts to him. Well, I don't feel very loving, she protested. I'm too mad. But I insisted, and finally she agreed. What do you think happened? At 10 o'clock he walked in. Did you have a good time? She asked him. I was never so bored in my life. Does this sound foolish? She cured him. She stopped his wandering, and today you never saw a more completely devoted and loving husband. Faith. It is a tremendous force and a powerful factor. Put your faith in God, in His presence, in His guidance. Put your faith in faith. The simpler you can be in taking faith and using it, the better results you will get. In the morning mail is a letter from a woman whose problem is a jealous husband. Another wife tells of a drinking husband. Both men, according to their wives, are making life unbearable. It is very difficult to handle such problems by mail. The important thing to realize in this kind of difficulty is that no case is hopeless, in spite of all appearance to the contrary. There is a way out. The Army Engineer Corps has a motto that every married couple should have in their home. The difficult we do immediately. The impossible it takes a little longer. That is a concise statement of the metaphysical principle of demonstration. God opens a way where there is no way. The things which are impossible with men are possible with God. Think defeat, and defeat will come. Think frustration, and you will be frustrated. Think victory, and you will be victorious. Divorce is not the answer to the challenges of marriage that prove difficult to meet. It is very easy for one to throw up his hands and run to a lawyer, but the solution comes through facing the real cause of estrangement. That trouble is not in the situation that has arisen, but within one or both of the parties to a marriage. If one person corrects the fault within himself, the fault in the other person cannot continue to exist. It takes two to quarrel, but it takes only one to avoid it. But things look bad, you say, and there is no hope of a reconciliation. Then you are denying the love of God. You are assuming there was never any real love between you. Have you gone within and tackled this problem in your own mind and heart? Have you loosed the erring member of your family and given him freedom in your thought? Probably not. You still feel that your guidance, wisdom, and direction are indispensable. The whole difficulty is likely to be one that one member is chafing under the restraint of the possessive love of the other, whose selfishness keeps him from realizing what he is doing. There are 3 steps that must be taken by those seeking a way out of the distress of marital difficulties. Step 1. Face your responsibility. Did it ever occur to you that all this trouble may have come about through your own negative attitude, jealousy, selfishness, and greed? Why not put every member of the family on his own and let him develop on his own? Genuine love gives, and by virtue of giving draws to itself love in return. Facing your own responsibility is the first step toward breaking the bottleneck of marital difficulty. 2. Change your reactions. Drop all thoughts of divorce or separation and purge yourself of all jealousy, personality, and selfishness. Drive out all thoughts of criticism, condemnation, injury, and injustice. See your loved one as God made him, perfect. Jesus said in many ways, love your offending partner. Love all the faults right out of him. Dissolve all bitter and antagonistic thoughts in your conscience by your love. Let it fill your whole world. Let it encompass everyone within it. Spiritual law is definite. If you have a grievances, do more than talk about them. Change the attitude of mind that is giving power to them. The offending mate is not the cause of the trouble. Your reaction to the offense is the real culprit. Erring husbands and wives are but the embodiment of confused ideas. If one or two involved changes his consciousness, he changes the condition. In order to help the offending party, he must establish the consciousness of love and harmony in his mind. He must eliminate all antipathy, antagonism, fretfulness, irritability, and confusion. He must bring God into the situation by recognizing him as the only presence and power. The offender could not disrupt the relationship unless his offense was accepted as a personal belief. When anger is expressed, the peacemaker knows it because God is all. Anger has no power to hurt him and no power to affect the person in whom it originates. He meets animosity by dissolving it in divine love. He realizes that divine wisdom reveals his right place in the scheme of things and expresses harmoniously through him. He remains peaceful and recognizes only the divine. His acceptance of this truth heals the breach. Step 3. Treat for harmony. Pray for them, said Jesus. Prayer is the great method of the reconciling estranged person, of dissolving discordant elements. It is love in action. The word of the worker operating through the one mind present in all dissolves every appearance of hurt, all thought of strife, and all belief in separation. This process of purification eliminates friction and misunderstanding, and adjusts and harmonizes irritating, opposing, and selfish interest. Does your mate jar you and annoy you? Then practice the presence of God as love. Put love to work in every thought, word, and deed. In love there is no loss. What we are related to in consciousness we can never lose. Jesus did not see people for what they seemed to be, but for what they really were. His method was to look beyond the appearance of discord and confusion to the reality beyond. Be therefore perfect, even as your Father which is in heaven is perfect. See your loved ones as he is in God. Hold the image of perfection for him. The mental image you hold is creative. As you hold a perfect image of another, you do not only emulate God, but he becomes a co-creator with him. Do you see how this law works in family relationships? When you bring him into the situation, the marital rift is ended. But, says one, Joan is so-and-so and thus and such. Why? John is so full of deceit and lust and temper that there's no room for any good. How could I possibly see him as perfect, inquires another. You can't see the perfect man unless you look past the physical man to the Christ within him. Are you without sin and shortcoming yourself? Then why do you presume to cast stones at Joan or John? No imperfection has power unless it is accepted as your own belief. He that is without sin among you, let him cast the first stone. Did you ever try blessing John or Mary or Bill? Blessing has a very salutary effect, you know. Bless each member of your family whenever he comes to your thought. Speak the word love through your home many times a day. Maybe your marriage is on the rock, but it doesn't have to stay there. Bless your marriage with mental image of perfection. Bless the condition, thoughts, words, and deeds that have brought your marital relationship to such a frightful pass. Bless the problems that you seemingly are unable to meet. When there is fretful, irritable, or confused persons in the home, apply the principle of love. God knows how to break any deadlock between husband and wife, but he has to have a clear channel to work through. Will you be such a channel? Then start today. Live in the love of God and carry the mental image of perfection wherever you go. Say this: God's love is in me. God's love radiates through me. No one can escape it. It sustains, soothes, and protects every member of my family. God's love guides me, strengthens me, blesses me, and through me blesses the whole world. From now on I shall see only the good. I shall forget myself and become an imitator of God. Love warms me with its spirit of forgiveness. My heart is warm with love toward everybody and everything. My mind, my life, my affairs, and my whole world are transformed by love. I put my faith in its presence and power. Father, I thank thee that thou hast broken through the resistance in my consciousness. In the boundless circle of thy love, thy glorious will is done. If you followed the suggestions, you try write something that would be helpful to Helen and Jerry and to Jim and Margaret. Get your paper and now reread it. Has your understanding of the way to meet a marital problem increased through your effort to put the solution in words and through your reading? Has our understanding helped you in your own relationship? Some do's and don'ts for married couples. 1. Always be true to each other, true in act, word, and thought. Lies always catch up with you. Nothing destroys confidence so quickly. 2. Be completely loyal to each other. Disloyalty is a wound that never heals. Love may continue, but it may never be the same again. 3. Pray every day for an understanding heart. It is one of the most vital and indispensable things in married life. Pray together about your mutual problems. Joint prayer is one of the great cohesive forces of married life. 4. Insist upon having your own home, even if it is inadequate for your needs. Living with in-laws is not economy. No house is big enough for 2 families. 5. Do not allow liquor in your home. Alcohol produces nothing but misery. Many divorces stem from cocktail parties. When the controls are down, almost anything can happen. Jealousy engendered on such an occasion often takes over and ends in divorce. 6. Live within your income. Do not buy on credit. Debts involved in keeping up with the people next door lead to many divorce court. Buy only what you can pay for. 7. Make a deliberate effort to have the conversation at the table interesting and amusing. Store up things to tell at this time. Never discuss sickness or other negatives. 8. Forget old love affairs after marriage. Forsaking all others means to forget old flames. Do not try to make your mate jealous by pretending to be interested in the third party. 9. Keep your courtship alive to the end of your days. Recall the many thoughtful things you did for each other when you were courting and keep on doing them. Be interested in each other and in each other's interest. Participate in as many things as you can together. Make yourselves attractive to each other. Keep appearances up. Do not become careless in dress. Refinement and modesty always pays off. 10. Acquaint yourself with more intimate side of marriage by reading such books as these. R.G. Foster, marriage and family relationships. 11. Get into the habit of going to church on Sunday and take the whole family with you. Give some time to spiritual reading and prayer every day, preferably at breakfast, dinner, and before going to bed. 12. Keep your expectancy level high, but take nothing for granted. Work at the job of establishing success in marriage. 13. Avoid making comparisons. You married an individual with assets and liabilities in emotion, habit, and character. The day for comparison is over. 14. Present a solid front before your children. Children can sense a lack of unity when they feel that father and mother disagree. Both parents lose in such a case. If a mistake as judgment has been made, discuss it in private but never in front of the children. 15. Wives, get the housework, particularly the laundry, out of the way before your husband gets home in the evening. There is nothing that will magnify the tiredness of a tired mind so quickly as an unmade bed, dirty dishes, and an unkempt home. 16. Husbands, leave your business at the store or office. Lock up your problems in the desk or safe. Work conscientiously during the working hours. Then make as efficient use of the other 16 hours of the day. Home and family are entitled to their share of your time and attention. End of chapter.